of women and girls. And why I'm asking you this is because we always get information and data. Sometimes the cases, for instance, of let's say teenage pregnancies are going down, and then at the same time, after some time, we get more reports that the cases are now rising. Can we really have a flat or constant curve?
Well, the world crisis that we face at the moment and in the last 5 years have had really adverse consequences on the state of women and girls. And if I may begin by citing the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect, the economic shock that it caused led to a decrease in global efforts to promote gender equality. And the lockdowns in particular here in Kenya and the rest of Africa even further worsened the state of girls. And for the first time in the year 2020 during the pandemic, we had a high number of teenage pregnancies, and also the resources that were earmarked for gender equality were diverted to the COVID issues. And if we look at the conflict, the crisis in Ukraine has led to much of bilateral and multilateral support being taken towards Ukraine at the expense of development efforts, not only in the global south but also in other parts of the global north. And also there have been a lot of regimes that are coming up, for instance in Afghanistan and in Iraq, that really roll down every gains that have been made towards achieving gender equality. Therefore, I would like to say that the past years have been some of the worst years for women and girls in all their diversities, and that is why there is an urgent and immediate call for more efforts, for concerted efforts, so that we are able to protect our girls and build a resilient and safe space for every girl, not only in Kenya but across the globe.
Yeah, and as we speak, what would you say are the main issues, maybe issue number one, or the main issues that are really notoriously affecting women and girls as we speak, not just in the continent but globally?
Well, the problems that have faced women and girls are multidimensional, and according to the Gender Snapshot 2023, which was published on 7th September of this year, it estimates that over 340 million women and girls will live in extreme poverty by the year 2030. And this is really a red flag, because if women and girls live under such extreme poverty, then chances that we are going to attain human development, which is measured through a health component and education component and also economic component, are going to be undermined. And we are going to see more than ever before a breach in the violation of the rights of girls and women, which are enshrined in various international conventions and agreements. Therefore, I would like to say that poverty is one of the key issues that lays foundation for gender discrimination. It lays foundation for all forms of discrimination against women. And also it is important for us to state very, very clearly that there is a lot of discrimination against women, especially on their sexual orientation. And as we know, we have the non-binary persons whose rights are protected. And as you are aware, this issue raised a lot of controversy when the Supreme Court made a determination of their right to association, which has been criticized by many people. But I think that women and girls in all their diversities have to be respected and given an opportunity to lead an equal right and to enjoy their freedoms just like the men. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Kombo, so what are some of the actions, not really circumstances like you've mentioned, poverty and pandemics, but actions by, governments and even citizens themselves that undermine this journey towards women empowerment?
There are a lot of structural barriers that undermine gender equality, not only in the world, but also in Kenya. And of course, one of these is the legal and constitutional barriers. You know, Kenya is a signatory to the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And there is a committee of the United Nations that receive periodic reports on the progress that we have made. And on the 8th periodic report, this committee made its determination on the state of Kenya, and it highlighted a number of legal discrimination. For instance, Muslim women are not allowed to be elected as Kadhi in Kenya, and we state clearly that this is discrimination on the basis of gender, and this has to be reviewed. There are all issues of marriages and so on. Other than that, we have a lot of gender stereotypes where in certain places people think that a woman place ought to be in a kitchen, which should never be the case. And therefore, all these issues that we are raising do undermine the struggle for gender equality, and therefore we need to address them. We need to talk to our communities. We need to talk to men and boys so that together we can work together to achieve gender parity for all in our societies.
All right, and do you think there is goodwill, especially, let's say, political goodwill, and even from organizations and other advocates like you into advancing this agenda? For instance, yesterday was the international celebrations, but we wouldn't say that there were much or bigger celebrations, especially at the national level, because I do understand women and girls affairs probably would be under the Ministry of Gender, for instance, but there was no much happening in the country, especially here in Kenya. Is that one of the ways to show that there's no much commitment, or I'm interpreting my own things here, Davis?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'd like to state that on one hand, there are a lot of legal and policies that have been passed in Kenya that seem to promote gender equality, and which we do appreciate. However, there are a lot of other factors that undermine the whole process. One, we can talk about representation, and the Constitution of Kenya is very, very clear on the gender rule, and none of the parliamentary sessions have ever risen up to the occasion to ensure that we achieve the gender representation as anticipated in the Constitution. And this I see as a lack of political will in Kenya for us to achieve gender equality. And this is a big shame compared to a country like Kigali, where we have so many women in parliament, for example. And also, when we talk about equal pay for equal work, you realize that the United Nations have said it very, very clearly about sub-Saharan African countries, including Kenya, where women do not earn the same amount of money for the same work as men, and this is properly documented. Therefore, I'd like to state that we haven't matched our commitments with financial commitment to ensure that those aspirations that we have for women and girls are protected and have concrete financial commitments to make them fulfilled.
All right, and let's, as we wind up, shift our focus now to a more positive approach to it. I know so far you've already made it clear that Kenya is not doing so well. You've compared us to Rwanda, and that's something to note. But are there strides that have been made in this journey?
Yeah, of course, as I mentioned before, and I reiterate, the committee on the elimination of discrimination against women made clear those concrete measures that the government of Kenya has put in place. For instance, the National Commission on Gender Equality. We are aware of the laws, for instance, that prohibit female genital mutilation and so forth. There has been a lot of efforts towards promoting 100% transition constitution that has, the effect of ensuring that more and more girls are able to attain education. So I would say, on a positive note, that we have done much, but this is really against those commitments we have made internationally. For instance, through the SDG, you're aware about the Sustainable Development Goal 5 about gender equality. We are off the track towards fulfillment of this. We have a lot of commitments, and remember, Article 26 of the Constitution of Kenya says that any treaty of which Kenya has ratified becomes law in this constitution, and therefore we have an international obligation to ensure that we fight for gender equality in Kenya.
And finally, as we call this discussion, as we bring this discussion to an end, when you look at this year's theme, Daktari, it's on investing in girls. Maybe moving forward, what are some of the actions would you like to see as a human rights activist?
The theme for this year is invest in girls' rights, and girls' rights are properly enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Among these rights which we want to call for their implementation, of course, is the right to education, so that we can have inclusive and fair right to education for girls, so that we can have more girls, even in the STEM sciences. And also, we want to see protection of girls against sexual exploitation, against trafficking, so that we can have a better society where every girl is able to live to the fulfillment of their rights.
All right, finally, maybe you can tell us what you're doing on a personal capacity. You're in Kisumu. What are some of the campaigns are you running there, probably this week, because the week still continues?
Well, at the global level, I'm the co-chair of the Accountability Working Group of the G7 countries, and my duty is to advise the G7 heads of state and government on issues of gender equality. We make policy recommendations, which are usually contained in the communique of the leaders of the G7 whenever they have their meeting. Here in Kisumu, we promote a lot of advocacy for the rights of children in general and girls in particular. We promote a lot of education to give them the chances to get back to school and to have opportunity for training. And at the moment, we are running an online campaign asking for the rights of the girls to be respected, so that we can join the rest of the girls across the globe in making the world a better place and a safer place for every girl.
All right, Dr. Davis Okombo, human rights advocate, thank you so much, sir, for your time. Time for us now to take a short commercial break right here at Africa Speaks. Don't go too far. We still have more news lined up for you. Stay with us.